Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Twisted Tragedies, where we follow all the twists and turns wherever they lead. I am your host, Elise, and today I'm wearing my glasses. I needed to take a break from my contacts, so the librarian look is back. Okay, happy Friday, everybody. So here's the thing, right? I, you guys know how I am when it comes to victims, victims' rights, in the way that people have been treated when it comes to John's case will probably forever haunt me because it's unacceptable. And I have seen these people start to move, as I predicted, over to some of the other cases that are bigger right now. And I fear that they will repeat this in other cases. If they can go get a conspiracy going, then they can just get a shit ton of viewers and a shit ton of money. And hey, fuck it, if it actually hurts someone or the families or the victims, hey, it brings YouTube clicks and views, right? I fear that's where it's going with most big cases. And I said to myself, I can't let that happen. I refuse to let that happen again to another family, to victims and their families. I I'm like speechless to the fact that I'm seeing this play out again over and over and over. Them hopping on the bigger cases that are larger right now and attempting to splash little bits of conspiracy and nonsensical bullshit into it. So I had the honor and privilege of speaking with uh, Kaylee's family, Kaylee Goncalves, who was one of the victims in Idaho. And they shared some things about Kaylee and Maddie that I'm going to share with all of you. And, the message that I got from them, I cried like a baby. Let's just throw that out there. Like a baby. And it kind of took them to remind me that I may have a very small channel, but small sometimes can be mighty. And there's no better thing to do than to make sure that this can't happen again and that the victims don't get lost in the noise, which we've seen in the circus, in the BS of mainstream media and content creators that don't seem to understand that when you're covering a case, this is someone's family. This is their lives. This is literally their loved one that had they had families, they had jobs, they went to school. We saw how lost John got in his case, and we don't ever want to lose sight of the fact that these people are someone's brother, sister, child, right? And I have a big problem being somebody who's advocated for as long as I have with these content creators that are just going on and being totally okay with just selling false BS for no other reason other than it sells clicks and views. It might sell clicks and views, but is it worth your soul? At what spot do we draw a line? At what point do we say this is not ethical? This is not okay. Is it because, we cover cases and we're not mainstream media that we think that it's okay to just do whatever, have no kind of, ethics about it or realization that these are somebody's loved ones? They had lives and jobs and pets. And I mean, this is insanity. Do these four people deserve to be used for clickbait? I mean, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. So today, I'm not going to lose the victims in all this. We're going to talk about these 4 people that lost their lives and what they were like. And I thank the Goncalves family for sharing with me things about Kaylee and Maddie that were who they were about, what they were about in life. Like, what did they do? You can't forget that these people are victims of a violent crime. Their families are also victims of all of this. Their families have to keep it together, fight for their loved ones, and at the same time fight off conspiracy theories with their surviving, people in the house and their families. Like, come on, man.
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
Yeah, doesn't it kind of like the Mark Twain history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. So like the defense is denied about bringing a third party culprit defense, but they can cross for a Bodie defense apparently, or like, it's like, oh, we're at it again.
Here we go again. Yeah, here we go again. Here we
go again. But it's very interesting that this judge seems to be more competent. It's kind of interesting. I've only had a competent judge from the last one that actually upheld the ruling.
You only had a competent judge the first goddamn time. Like,
you only had a judge that didn't just say you can't do third party, but then that guys do third party defense anyway, and even does it in the opening and the closing.
And we knew that was going to happen because the judge didn't take any, precaution to not allow that kind of stuff. She was basically allowing it from the jump. So what else was going to happen? This is all that was going to happen. She had no authority over her own courtroom. That's kind of what happens when you don't. You know that you're a pushover, Thank you, Ashley, and thank you for gifting a membership. Breezy the Barber gets the membership. Well, let's hope not, Scorpio, because that's what I intend to prevent. No matter how teeny tiny I am, I'd like to prevent that.
That's going to be the Barry Matthew case. That's going to be the same thing. Oh, someone else did it. Yeah. Matthew.
I know.
Someone else did it. It's always someone
he was
else.
Just indicted. Yeah. Who's the someone else? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, right?
What more do people need to see? That's the part that really blows my freaking ever-loving mind, which is, what more do you people need to see to understand what happened?
Yeah, I don't get it. But there's some people that think that Bryan Kohberger is being railroaded and this is all a frame job by someone.
Yeah, and to me, it's like, who's the someone? You know what I mean? Like, you could say someone until the cows come home, but again, all the evidence points in one direction, and this is the problem that we keep having with these cases, which is, you can say someone, right? Someone did it, but there's no evidence that someone other than the person who they have arrested in these cases, at least, did it. You know what I mean? The guy clearly has a ton of evidence against him. It didn't just pop out of thin air. He's not being railroaded. He's, a very sick individual. It's sad because the fact that we have to do this, like the fact that content creators can't seem to figure out that these people had lives and have families and cover the case, fine, but do it with some goddamn integrity. Do it in a way that you're not hurting people by just spreading misinformation.
I just wonder what the defense was going to say, because it's been redacted, the documents showing who they were going to accuse of being murderers. 4 people, apparently.
4?
That was, yeah, it was going to be 4 people they were going to accuse of being murdered. Doesn't that sound familiar?
Yeah, of course it does. This is the stuff that gets me. I'm like, what in the actual, how are they getting mad at you? He does look creepy. I mean, he does.
I mean, the one with the hoodie one was like, holy crap. Don't submit that into the defense's case.
I mean, I almost thank God that Idaho clearly seems to know what the hell they're doing, considering they put the gag order on, which was probably the smartest freaking thing they could have possibly have done in this case, because
Well,
otherwise you got them running,
yeah, I mean, I think if it wasn't for the judges not being complete pushovers, like a certain Massachusetts judge, um, then I think that this case would have went completely wild. It's actually the defense that is worried about, like, the prejudice of the media. Kind of
I
interesting.
mean, the gag might be the worst for us, but it's the best thing they could have done in a high profile case, because if you don't, we just saw what happened. Things get leaked and they're out of context, or they're not full. You don't have all of the information, so people make a lot of rank speculation, connect lines that don't exist, and then it hurts people. It hurts.
Did you hear
people.
that this trial is going to be 3 months?
I did actually. That was one thing, and I was like, oh God.
The Diddy trial wasn't even 3 months. The Diddy trial was 34 fucking days.
Well, the families aren't gagged. You can't gag the families; they're their own entities.
Yeah, the problem is
the attorneys and the state.
Yeah, but sometimes they say things that they shouldn't say in this case, like information that should not be widely spread.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, I'm going to tell you this: if it was my child, the cops are
I
not going
get
to tell
it.
you everything you want to know. So I'd hire a PI. I don't care. I want all the answers, and I'm not going to wait for the cops to give it to me.
True.
If it was
I
my
love
kid,
the
I would
line
move hell and high water.
the judge stated. They based for the alternate assessment. He says, quote, do nothing more than waste the precious time of the jury and the court in what is already a scheduled 3-month trial.
And that's the thing. It takes forever to get a jury for a trial that's going to last that long. Okay. And it's out of the district that it was in originally, because now it's in Boise.
Okay.
So months in advance, they have to find put the letters out to get the jury.
Next thing the judge says, nothing links these individuals to the homicide or otherwise gives rise to reasonable inference that they've committed the crime. Indeed, it would take nothing short of a rank speculation by the jury to make such a finding. What did that?
Your Honor, where were you just now? I want to know. Can you call Bev Canoni and
the jury?
Judge lessons and the jury, and give them lessons on how to maybe.
Yeah, that was the problem. I think we should have gotten this judge for this trial because, then they would have.
Any other judge would have been just fine. Yeah. Any other judge, it would have been great. Yeah. It's talking to the Kaylee's family, they have almost all of the families have started some sort of foundation in honor of each one of them. And Kaylee and Maddie, they were best friends since like 6th grade. So to the Goncalves family, Kaylee and Maddie were both like their kids, and the same for Maddie's family, because they were probably attached at the hip, just like me and my best friend were. She's more like a sister than a friend. And that's a lost times too for those families. And Ethan Chapin has 2 other twins. He was a triplet, and they just graduated without their brother. It's really sad. Xana, she loved animals and dance music, techno music, dance music. Like, the things that you start to learn about some of these people is what people forget to do. They forget to put a human, emotion on the fact that these were people. It's just like saying a name or a number over again. It's like when I worked in the prison system, everyone's a number, inmate number, blah, blah, blah. And eventually that number is replaced with another number or someone else that comes in. They're just numbers to the state. They're not people, they're numbers. And I've seen this keep going when it comes to content creators, which is, okay, this is the next case we're going to cover. Cool, great. But maybe start with, who were these people? What did they like? What did they do in their everyday lives, instead of just skipping to how, you want them to be remembered by who they were, not how they died. it's really quite sad that what we saw with John's case was really surrounded with people leaking autopsy photos.
Well, unfortunately, I mean, the circus just continues in that one.
I can't even
Every
believe
grip.
that they're still continuing on in that. Like,
Well, they go and they're doing like you got one of the jurors who literally, I think, got a press PR
PR
person.
firm. Yep, a PR firm.
Like, if you don't tell, if that
For
doesn't
what?
tell you that these people just lied to get on the jury so they can just be famous, I don't know what can. It's just
No
it's a
kidding.
travesty of justice, that case.
It is.
It really is, and
I
and
mean,
I
there
hope
should be like banning. Like, if you're in a jury and you're doing your civic duty, you should not legally be allowed to then go profit off of that or then hire a
absolutely,
PR firm. Why? Because then people wouldn't lie to get on juries to do so.
absolutely. I think that should never be allowed. But hopefully that it looks like the case is Bryan Kohberger is not heading towards that ridiculous
Thank God.
trend.
I mean, I am seeing a lot of the same content, bad content creators jump right on it. And I'm like, here we go.
But what about the
Here we go.
Birchmore? What about her? Aren't they
Some
gonna?
of them went there. Some of them went there, but they did exactly what I thought they would, which was move to Sandra's case, which I saw someone doing immediately after the Karen verdict, and then move here.
Yeah,
And
because they knew that the sadly enough, Sandra Birchmore doesn't have the world, you know.
she doesn't have a lot of family left, just an aunt, I believe, and friends. But
And also doesn't have like the media. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of people that are like,
right.
what's happening with Sandra Birchmore case? No one's doing that. Not a lot
Also,
of
it's
people
a
are doing.
federal case now, so there's not going to be any cameras.
Yeah. So people are moving towards the next one, which is the Kohberger case. That is the next trending case. It's 3 months of people going to be talking about that case. The Diddy case is almost over. There's literally closing arguments,
Yep.
which I'm kind of surprised how weak the prosecution's case was actually in some of the things. I think they got him dead to rights for prostitution. And if the jury listens to the actual category of RICO, they could get him. But if the jury, yeah, but
I think they would have been better going with just like clearly assault, okay, and maybe some prostitution or forced, like, human trafficking charges.
Well, that's the thing. It's going to be tough for them because a lot of people are ignorant in the Diddy case about what is constituted as sex trafficking and what is that.
People seem to forget that, forcing a woman to do anything or multiple women to do that is human trafficking.
Well, it also goes into coercion. Like, for instance, the Loverboy method. The Loverboy method by Andrew Tate and those people who basically say, I'll be your boyfriend, and they get you over, and then they says, well, can you do this for me, if you catch my drift?
Yes.
And that is a situation that can occur with that case. So it's really...
as a dancer, I saw a lot of that, and a lot of these women would have, well, we won't say the whole word, but they would have imps with a P in the front. And I never understood why. And it's human trafficking. It's taking advantage of someone who thinks like, oh, you're going to protect me. You're going to, why does he need to use your money to buy you things? That doesn't make sense. Like,
I have a question about the Bryan Kohberger case. Why do you think it's going to be 3 months?
I mean, what that tells me is that they either have a lot of evidence, a lot of experts, or a lot of witnesses they intend on calling, because why else would it take that long? What other reason could it possibly be to take that long?
Now, I would say like an interesting thing is that basically that house was like anyone was going in there. Basically, it was like a party house,
college house. I mean, to be like I talked about the other day, when I was that age, I was like the only one of my friends with my own apartment. So yeah, people came and I had a lot of friends, so people would come and go, and especially because a lot of them lived with their parents. Like, if you wanted to, have a couple beers or do something you couldn't do at your parents' house, my house was the place to be. So people came, and I never locked my door, because if I lock my door 5 minutes later, somebody's knocking at the door. So there's no point in locking the door. A couple of my friends moved into my third bedroom all summer long. So, I mean, I guess if you think about it, and I had roommates, I didn't, but had I had roommates, I would have assumed that some of people coming and going would have been coming and going with my roommates. So I'm not going to sit there and question every person coming or going from the house. Like, hey, what are you doing here? Hey, who are you with? I'm not going to be rude. Obviously, they have to be here with someone who lives here.
Do you think Bryan Kohberger's defense is going to be like, well, I was just partying. I just brought my knife sheath there that night. I was partying with these people and I just dropped it.
Possibly.
You know what I Because that could
Possibly, because what I mean, they're if they were going to think of something feasible, yes, but the problem with that is they kind of already were like, oh no, he was just driving around. So you're going to go from he was already driving around to he was there.
Yeah, it might not take 3 months, like you
That's
say.
what they're guessing, 3 months.
But
You know,
I mean, like my guess is the witnesses are obviously that Uber driver is going to be a witness.
yeah, yep,
Obviously the survivors in the house. I call them survivors.
yep,
You got, and I probably got person that did the, the cell tower technology,
yeah. Those experts, if any forensic experts they had for the
uh,
touch DNA.
people that pulled the Google search. Though, I mean, the Google, some of
Mhm.
the only thing that's weird is the whole, having sleeping, watching sex with, with sleeping people or something like that.
Yeah,
That's the weird one.
maybe.
I mean, a guy who's like looking up serial killers when his course is basically criminal justice is not exactly weird, in my opinion.
No, but he got clearly into some sort of like not not just in interest, but it became a sort of infatuation with him.
I think he wanted to be another serial killer. That's what I think. I think he
It's
was.
I mean, technically, because I don't think it's because it's in one swoop. It's not technically. It has to be more than one time, I think, before it's considered a serial killer. But I mean, I do think he thought he was getting away with it. That's for sure. I think it was
Oh
6
yeah,
weeks before he was arrested. And the thing that really got me was he clearly did his homework because they didn't find any DNA in his car or in his apartment.
yeah. That's the thing
So,
I've been thinking about. Like, how the hell did he pull that off?
right. I mean, here's the thing, he was going for his master, so he had clearly had enough knowledge to know how to degrade or get rid of something like that.
Well, he used a VPN on his phone, but still had tracking GPS, and the VPN
It's gonna
doesn't
still
actually.
connect to towers
Yeah,
and
yeah. It doesn't stop. It just changes your like your search when your online search. It changes like where you ping from.
that's
Doesn't
it.
affect the GPS on your
Own,
phone.
yeah, because it's got its own GPS. I mean, the Papa Roger stuff was definitely creepy. I remember reading it at the
Yeah,
time and being like, what the hell?
but
What is all this?
that apparently wasn't him. That
I
guy's
don't think
back
it was ever
apparently.
tied to him.
How about like when T Rev had like that T Rev try to say like Brian Kohberger called into him. It
You
was
know, it's amazing to me because at least the reports that we have of him after say that he was very misogynistic. He was, grading the women harsher than the men. And
I
that's
think
why
he
he
was
was
an
fired
incel.
from the teaching. It could be, yeah, from his teaching situation there, assistant teaching, and they had to be talked to numerous times. And in the months leading up to all of this, he progressively was getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, how do we take people like that out of society before they snap is the question. Because
Well,
these 4 people here were just minding their own business. They were in their house. Kaylee had already been moved out, ready to, move on to her next adventure, and she was there with Maddie. So it's like Ethan was just staying over with Xana, his girlfriend. So it whose parents? Ethan's parents? Kohberger's parents? I don't think so. I mean, not since the arrest, I don't think, right?
I
Kohberger's
don't know.
parents?
I think like I was talking to Body Movement. She was the person I was talking to her about like I think about 4 days ago. She's the one. You ever see that documentary with "Don't Fuck with Cats"?
Yes, I
Yeah,
did.
that's Body Movement. She was one of the people there. So she's
Ah,
oh yeah. So I was talking to her, and she was basically thinks that Koberger might still have the knife, and then he might have kept it as like a trophy or
trophy.
something.
A lot of people do that. It's kept as a trophy, but if it is, where is it?
I don't know. I mean, I think
Bury
honestly,
it?
I was. I mean, personally, when he first I saw him traveling through to Pennsylvania. I thought he was like tossing pieces like Barry was. Like how
Yeah.
he was doing for evidence. He was just tossing shit around and shutting off his cell phone and putting in
Yep.
airplane mode. I was thinking, was he doing that? I don't know where the knife. I think the knife's still out there. I think the knife is still out there. I think he kept it as a trophy. and I think it's buried somewhere or something hidden
Buried.
somewhere.
That's what I would think. If anything, buried. I mean, they clearly followed him though, because they pulled him over, right? They followed him to his parents' house, so they actually had an eye on him. That a lot of that time that we didn't know what was going on with it. Um, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he had something to do with some of that stuff. Um, it, to me, just even the look of him screams like, "Hey, something's wrong here.
Yeah,
Something is seriously
I,
wrong here."
I think it's going to be a very tough thing for him on the jury. I mean, like that guy looks. He's gonna look worse than Karen Reed in the jury, like on to the jury. To be honest, well, obviously the jury like Karen Reed, but what I mean. Like I think the guy looks kind of creepy. I think the fact I don't know if they're gonna allow in his, all his searches. I don't think it would be a lot. I think it'd be prejudicial a little bit. Some of his
Yeah.
searches, obviously
The
looking up.
problem is how do you discern what is from school and what is planning?
Yeah, I would probably, if I was the prosecution, focus on, the guy was near the area. They have the timeline of when he came back at night. What was it, like 9 o'clock? He came back in the morning.
Yep, 9 or 9:30 or 8:30. 8:30, I think it was 8:30 a.m.
I thought it
when he
was
came
9,
back.
but
Something around
like
there.
the knife sheath. I don't know what they're going to state for a defense. What the officers who they should have looked into. Maybe
I'm
Chloe the
sure they
dog.
did. I mean, I'm sure they looked into.
You think the defense is going to hire Dr. Russell and say Chloe the dog did it?
You
That dog
know,
is still on the loose.
here's the thing. Ann Taylor, she does death penalty cases. That's why she was hired in this case, but all accounts, she seems like a decent attorney. Now, do I think that she will go to the lengths that they did in the retrial?
No.
I don't think so. Some attorneys at least have more ethics than that, and they care about what people think of them, whether they're slime bags or not. And to hire a Dr. Russell type and explain away absurd things with absurd nonsensical theories isn't going to help her out there in Idaho. I just think it's really sad that we have all of these content creators that will have no problem making up some absurd theory if that's what they think their audience wants. Is some
Absolutely.
bombshell conspiracy theory. And that's the problem, because then that spreads like wildfire, and then we have another Reed case on our hands. That's all it takes. And then the mainstream media fanning the flames of it all. Because I was utterly disgusted in the fact that the mainstream media wants to now give a fuck, including Vinnie Politan. Shame on him. Shame the hell on him. You give a shit now about the victims and the victims' family. You fan the flames the entire time you were outside that goddamn courthouse with those people. And you didn't care about them then. Did you? No, you sure didn't. Mainstream media doesn't help. There are a lot of things they could have reported on at the time the case was going that would have been in a benefit to make sure that a conspiracy theory didn't get out of control. And yet they stayed quiet and they didn't.
I think the problem with that you can look at the key. I think that what's very interesting about the differences in the Kohberger case and the past case you talked about, which is Karen Reed case, is that the judge, the defense attorney is not an unethical piece of shit. Mm-hmm. Is actually an ethical attorney that is not just leaking shit out and just to get into interviews and get paid. The judge is stopping any sort of having innocent people being accused of being murderers on the news and redacting their names and not allowing cuckoo for Cocoa Puff theories to come up. And I'm sure they're not going to allow ridiculous witnesses. I mean, it just shows you that there is a key difference. Unfortunately, cases like the Karen Reed case and the OJ case have a lot of things in common. A weak judge that just allows things to just kind of just happen just because it's for TV or something. I don't know. And this is not the case with the Kohberger case. This is.
I mean, I get, they must be seeing at least a little of it, because the Goncalves family told me that they share my frustration with the harmful impact of misinformation, harassment, and exploiting content creators who prioritize profit over truth.
One person I know for the Kohberger case is Truth and Transparency. That whack job. That lady is batshit crazy. She believes Kohberger's innocent. She went to the tailgating party with the first trial. She's like the short blonde hair
for
with glasses.
God.
You've heard about it.
Yeah.
That lady is crazy. That lady has done like 19 orders of protection, civil lawsuits on random people. She's actually on parole. She's on parole for I think what was it, sexual harassment or something? She
should
did.
Just like go away then. Like maybe go away.
So she believes that Kohberger's innocent, but she also believed Michael Long was innocent and actually had a foundation.
I can't. It is all decency.
It's like
common sense just disappeared in the world. I don't really understand it. I mean, I did tell them that there are at least two trusted voices that I know of are Julie Grant and the Prosecutors Podcast. So I did point them in that direction of at least here is some trustworthy people, if you guys ever need anything. And I also, said, if you need anything, let me know, of course. Because the mainstream media will only pick up what they want to. And especially in cases like this, where there are, multiple families, there are 4 people that died here. So multiple families, loved ones, friends, et cetera, significant others. They might have a lot to say. And the mainstream media is only going to pick and choose to air 30-second clips. I mean, they played 5%. All right. 5% is what they played of the Michael Proctor interview. 5% of what he actually filmed is what they played. That's it. So mainstream media is only going to pick out their best, clips of what they want to talk about, not what the family needs or wants to get out, information wise. And so that's where I think that content creators can be helpful. They can be helpful for getting that information that the families, victims, or whoever needs out there. But the problem with that is that people then decide that they only want them to say X, Y, and Z, and they're not going to have them on if they talk about this, this, and this. And it's like, these are victims. They should talk about whatever they want to talk about. And you should be honored that they chose you to have them, for you to speak for them or have them on, like what? I just feel like we could do so much better as a community as a whole. We could be better. We could do better. We could probably do more good if people got their heads out of their asses. Yeah, Brian Higgins is not missing, dude. I can't with these people.
Yeah, I just think they're just trying to push it. I mean, I think these people are going to have to get very careful what they're doing, because in that case, they could be pushing themselves into defamation category even further for them to get a hit with multiple lawsuits, these content creators. But I think what's going to happen is that a lot of the channels that built themselves up on that Karen Reed case on harassing the family are just going to continue it, but it's going to dwindle out because eventually people move on. Just how it is.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's just freaking sad to me that this is where these people go. And I knew they would immediately move to something, but if you are moving to places like this and saying that this person is innocent, then you really need to seek immediate help. Like some serious
that's the usual. That's the usual stuff. Like they did it with Michael Long. They did it with Richard Allen. They did it with Casey Anthony. They did it with OJ. They did it with Karen Reed. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of money to be had for claiming someone is innocent when they're clearly guilty, because then there's a lot of people that would sit there and they like the contrarian opinions on these topics, and they really want to kind of play like a clue game, like a literal clue game.
Yeah. But Mrs. Peacock, in the bathroom with the candlestick.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's going to be a very tough case for Mr. Kohberger to win. He's got the major piece of evidence against him is the touch DNA on the
sheath. Yeah.
Yeah. That is going to be
location data.
The location data is bad. But you can
concerning. I mean, you're going by there 12 times or more before it happens.
yeah, but that could be easily explained away. You know, you could say she's
Well, if you
driving
have the
around.
DoorDash driver, though, that says that she pulled in right next to him, well, then we got a big problem.
Yeah. I'm just thinking in terms of the defense. Like I can't think of a way that you can deal with that, you know, but I mean it depends on the jury. You got a jury, you know, we have a different jury system now with a lot of these jurors. They could be popping in and thinking themselves, you know, oh, Bryan Kohberger's innocent and I need to lie to get on that jury and I need to quit
The
them.
problem, right? That's the problem. That's the serious problem that we're freaking dealing with here. All right. Is jury nullification, you know, and getting on a jury just to lie so that you can be famous afterwards. I mean, that's a real serious issue, a
Yeah.
serious issue.
And there's a lot of money to be had apparently. And there's a lot of fame to be had. So you just don't know. And you're dealing with the facts that you have a high profile case. It's going to take 3 months. I can just imagine how tough it is to get a jury for that. And then you're going to have
they already had to move counties. So now, you know, these jury notices are sent out in advance, you know, to get the jury. And they're supposed to start jury selection on the 30th. So just about a month away.
Yeah.
From that.
But I think if I was a defense attorney, I would have a very tough time with the evidence that's against them.
Yeah, I think that's why they tried to go with like third party culprit and then got smacked down on that. And then, you know, I do think that we're going to hear some things that we probably never heard before because there's been a gag order. So there's a reason why, you know, they're saying it could take months. There's clearly things that we don't know. So if there is other bombshell evidence, we're not going to know until the trial starts.
Well,
right?
It must be pretty bad when they're like, we need to make an argument so he doesn't get the death penalty because he has autism.
That's so absurd to me that they even attempted that.
It's like he has autism. So
no,
I'm like,
no.
The guy who ran the cult in Japan, the Ulm, I think they call it AUM.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
guy.
he was partially blind, and they executed him.
Right, like that's not the way it works, folks. You know, not the way it works. It's just like these kids had life by the balls. You know, they were ready to move. Some of them moved to the next step and graduate. Some of them, you know, had another year to go. And, you know, I think it was Kaylee or Maddie, one of them, I think it was Kaylee, was going to move to Texas, I think it was. And she had just bought, it was Kaylee, yeah, she just bought like a 2016 Range Rover, and she had a trip to Europe that she had planned that she was going to go on the next year, and she was expected to move to Texas, and she had already gotten a job there. You know, she had her life ahead of her and was ready to just do whatever adult, right? You know, she was ready to get her adult life on. And, you know, her family tells me that she loved animals and had a beautiful smile.
I'm going to read this to you. Tell me if this doesn't sound eerily familiar, what Ann Taylor is trying to do. So it says, lead defense attorney Ann Taylor said at the hearing that she's planning to call an expert witness who will say it's likely that 2 people committed the crime with 2 weapons. She didn't expand on the theory, but later said she'll also chasing a lead on an alternate suspect. The lead was buried in thousands of tips collected by law enforcement, but the Taylor said she's coming through. Quote, we came across a tip that would appear to be an alternate suspect, and we're trying to work through that as rapidly as we can, Taylor said. It was quite surprised to come up with that. There's got to be more there that I don't need to know. We need to know disclosed. So I'm like, I read that and I was like to myself, is Dr. Lapisato coming over there?
Right? Did you hire some of these idiotic people? I mean,
is Dr. Lapisato going to walk in there and be like, yeah, that's two different knives. That would kill 2 different people.
No, Ashley, that's why they argued for it. Is they argued basically under the, you know, pretense of he has a special need. So no, in certain circumstances, and also yes, in certain circumstances. They are going to have a Netflix documentary, as far as I understand, on the 11th of July, or no, Prime. I think it's Prime. Yeah, it's Prime. It comes out on Prime the 11th of July, right before, I think right after the trial starts, right? Yeah. No, right before it starts. So the
What
11th
you
of
should
July,
do.
and it's going to be roommates, not the roommates. They called friends over, and a lot of those friends are then in that documentary that answer a lot of those questions.
If I was you, I'd probably, if you, I know you have a Discord, you could probably do like a share watch party with that in the
I was
Discord.
thinking about it because I have Prime, so
Yeah, just
maybe a
do
watch
that.
party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because obviously you can't do that on YouTube because that's
Nope.
thievery. Yeah.
Copyright strike.
Yeah. But you could do that on Discord. You could probably watch it and share it a bunch of people, and basically then you can go over it and later on.
Yeah,
And then
they
do
don't
clip
tell you
notes.
what the case is that you're being summoned for. You're just told that you're summoned for jury duty. So they don't tell you what the case is. You can sort of guess by some of the things that they ask in like the questionnaires, but you do not know which case it is until you show up for jury duty. So
Yeah.
there's that.
So what do you think of? Do you think there's going to be a lot of bombshells that has not been released to the public as of yet?
I
Like,
think there will be a few that we haven't heard. Yeah, it'll be televised. As far as I understand, it will
oh
be
yeah, this
televised.
is going to be televised for the next
Yeah.
3 weeks, and it's going to be on every single YouTube channel that covers
Yeah.
true crime channel. You're going to see
Yeah.
Emily D. Baker with her face like
That was stupid.
for the next 3 months.
Pausing it every 3 minutes. I can't.
Well, she
I
does
don't know how
that
people do that.
to be fair. If I was as big as Emily D. Baker, I would do the same thing because
But it's going to take twice as much time to get through an
I
entire
know.
day.
But the thing is, these big networks, they watch you more closely the bigger you are. Like you can get away with it. But if you have like 20,000 people or 10,000 people watching you, they will sue you. That happened to Everyday Jay for Justice.
Yeah, but if you talk during sidebars and things like that, like that's you giving commentary. As long as you're giving commentary, it doesn't matter how long in between.
It doesn't matter. They tried that with Jay because she was doing
Fair
that.
use.
But they just go for their money. I mean, they have money. When you have a copyright case, that shit costs you money. That you need an attorney. That shit's money. So
yeah, you do.
A lot of times people just drop it. You know what I mean, or just settle out of it because who are you gonna fight? You're gonna fight like Court TV. Court? No.
Well, I mean, you give commentary. That's the whole point of watching it, is giving commentary on it.
Mercado got sued. I think Mercado got
really?
sued. Mm-hmm.
For did. What?
He got sued for watching a network. Well, he's in another lawsuit where he defamed someone, but before that, he was sued for doing like live stream network watching of a trial.
There are a billion channels that do that. A billion. You're going to sue all the YouTube channels that stream it live while you're streaming it live? If you're streaming it live to the public for public consumption, then it gives anybody the right to restream it. It's fair use.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's crazy to me.
But
yeah, well, a lot of these people are cuckoo bananas,
yeah.
you know.
I certainly have a copyright case against
you. Do. You sure do.
I hope that trial is streamed.
So that's the thing I'm not so sure of, okay? Because the Karen stuff is over, there isn't really much interest in his stuff. It was really mostly Karen stuff. So
imagine like that would make me. Did you see him read that fucking?
Imagine this though. Imagine Lindsay Clancy or Brian Walsh's case starts at the same time. They're not going to stream his. They're going to stream the Walsh or Clancy case. Like,
well, the only person who's going to stream his case is probably the Glare because he needs to suck up to him some more. But pretty much, that's pretty much it. I mean, I think the worst thing that ever happened to Turtle Boy was an acquittal for the Karen made. Because if she would have gone convicted, they would have been still interested in this case. And I think it's going to dry up eventually with him. That's what my opinion is.
Not going to dry up. I mean, he's being completely shunned to the point where he's making hostage videos now. Hostage videos of I mean, I know I said all this, guys, but like, it's very abundantly clear he hasn't gotten interviews with these people because they don't want anything to do with him. So no matter what they put out now being like, oh, well, we still have a relationship. If you had a relationship, you would have given him the first interview. Let's get real here.
Yeah, they gave an interview to Melanie Little.
Right. Like, so you're giving interviews to everyone else except him. No matter what you say publicly about it, we know why. You know what I mean? It's kind of futile to keep saying, like, David Yannetti made some sort of like tweet about it. Like, people trying to interfere in our what relationship, David Yannetti, that do you have with Aiden? I would love to know what that relationship looks like, because I thought you didn't have one with him. And if you actually, cared or had any sort of relationship with him, I wouldn't have a relationship with someone who was trying to blackmail my client at some point. You know what
So
I mean?
what's
Like, he's
interesting,
too dumb to realize that's why they're not giving him interviews. They're done with you. You tried to blackmail their client.
yeah. Another thing about the Bryan Kohberger, now they're going to have an expert witness testify about the knife sheath. Apparently, like the knife.
Well,
They
they're
said
going to have to, right?
the state prosecutors are expected to present a trial evidence that the Kohberger's DNA was recovered on that knife sheath found in the bed next to Mogen body. How do you say it?
Mogen.
Making
And
sure I
Kaylee
was saying correctly.
Goncalves, they were both in the same,
Body in the crime scene. Judge Hippler said Wednesday over defense objections that the government can call an expert witness to testify about Amazon data that they say reveals Kohberger bought a knife with a sheath and a sharpener made by the same company as the sheath found at the crime scene. The expert can also address product search for the same items soon after the murder weapon. So what happened was
after he lost it, he tried to get a new one.
he tried to get a new knife sheath.
Yep.
He just didn't hit the he had it in his cart,
but didn't buy it, right?
And didn't buy it. Yeah.
Yep.
I know. That's why I said the defense has a very hard. I think this is
steep hill to get over, and they're not going to, as far as I am concerned.
That's why I was sitting here. It's like 3 months. I would probably need 2 weeks max to say this guy was 100% guilty.
It's funny because I would love to know which one of those lawyers wrote the hostage speech for him too. He said he shouldn't have to ask for interviews. He literally thinks people should be begging him for one. No, people want to pay you to go away, sir. All right, you're a stain on society. They want you to go crawl in a hole and stay in your turtle shell, sir.
Well, they used them, and now they don't need them anymore. You know what I mean?
And the thing is, you were a useful idiot, and that's all you were good for.
And the thing is that Keanu Reed's on probation for a year. So anything that breaks the probation is going to should go straight to jail. So, and also the lawyers, they don't want to be near him at this point because
everything he touches turns to shit. So one of his flunkies will come with a beer in their hand, put it down next to Karen, a picture will be taken, and she'll go right to jail. That's reality. Okay.
Yeah, I think 3 months is a long time. My guess is that majority of that is actually going to be 50-50 with the defense and the prosecution. I think the defense has hired a bunch of expert witnesses. Their main goal is to kind of debunk the whole DNA, to say it's not Kohberger's DNA. The issue is how are they going to debunk the Amazon purchase and search?
They can't, obviously.
And who buys their murder weapon at Amazon?
On Amazon? This idiot. This dumbass.
Are you you're going for criminal? And I think what was it going for? Something that had to do with technology. What was exactly this guy's?
They'll still talk about Karen for 3 months. What do you mean? That's what they'll do. That's what they'll do. Unfortunately, as you guys noticed, even Tom CPU every morning is doing his quote coffee lives to talk about the same thing over and over and over. They don't know.
Well, they have nothing else to talk
about. Their money train, right? This was their money train, and so when their money train is over, they don't really know what else to do with themselves. They're not people that followed cases or did deep dives into cases. They're not people who are interested in the law or cases like I am, or victims' rights for that matter. They just don't care. All they cared about was the money that they were getting to talking about that case, and they will keep doing it as long as people keep paying them. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen it before. I've seen it in the Cali Rodney case where a lot of channels built themselves up and then they just died. They just eventually died
out. Yeah.
Or they just only cover that from now on. The audience slowly dwindles over and over. And
because they don't want to. I mean, here's the thing. I don't want an audience that only wants to talk about one thing. If they're true crimers, they like true crime cases, right? But what I'd really like is for people to get a little more involved in victims' rights.
Did you see
least, knowing that these people had a family, and they were real people, not just names.
Did you see the Gigolo documentary with the wife calling a Gigolo Beach documentary
Oh,
with
Gilgo, yeah, I did. Yep. Oh,
where the wife
love of God.
called into the
Yeah,
her husband? It looks so creepy.
lady, you need to understand that your husband was a serial killer. Okay,
Yeah, it's
lady,
like
it's like beyond the point of her like comprehension. She's not comprehending that like he wasn't set up, darling. Okay, your husband was a serial killer. It's really that simple. She has not come to
yeah,
terms. The Gilgo Beach wife there
yeah.
has
Her
not come to terms.
looks all messed up. Her teeth are messed up. Everything's messed up, man.
It's sad, you know. It's sad.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I can't watch him because he's so stupid and because he has a chronic case of diabetes. I can't
Who?
do
Which
it.
one?
He's terminally ill with diabetes. The turtle.
I don't watch him because the guy is just a propaganda piece.
It's it.
I'm watching this.
Can't do it.
I think like he was used, and guess what? He's going to jail. He's probably going to jail. If not, he's going to be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to try to avoid going to jail.
Yeah,
The
all the
man's
money that he's
reputation.
grifted off of everybody else.
Yeah, you know. Anyone see the Mean Girl murders? Holy
No.
smokes! I forgot how mean girls can be.
I know they're doing that preppy Connecticut one that not really anyone's watching, but I have been following it a little bit. But other than that, I don't think I saw that one.
No, I didn't. I don't know.
I mean,
We'll see.
so many cases. It's like, was there this many when we were younger? I mean, was there this level of violence? Was there, and we just didn't know? I mean, I don't know. To me, it seems like the sensationalism is the part that irks me a little, because instead of remembering the people who died, it's remembering and talking about the person who did the crime, right? And yes, of course, you can't talk about the case without talking about the person that did the crime. That's obvious. But the victims get lost in all of that, you know? And yeah, I guess it is on social media now where it wasn't before. I mean, social media in its first was MySpace, right? And it definitely wasn't on MySpace back in the day. You know?
Yeah. The Connecticut trial was pretty interesting today. Hearing all these young kids' testimonies on the stand, they were 17 when it happened.
You know, 20 now. Yeah, so about 3 years ago.
Yeah,
And that's what happens is all this time passes before you get to an actual trial in these cases. A lot changes in those 3 years, you know?
that is very true.
It's they have to move on with life, and you know, hopefully they do something good for the people that passed away in their memories. You know, I know that I think it was Ethan's mom wrote a children's book. She wrote a book called, I think it was The Man in Blue or The Kid in Blue or something along the lines of something like that.
So
she wrote it basically about his life, and she has Ethan Chapin Smile Foundation, which provides scholarships to, it was like $50,000 last year to 33 students. Not bad.
So apparently they're still looking for the leaker of that Bryan Kohberger case as well. And they said the judge said that they're most likely never going to be found.
Oh, they can't narrow it down somehow?
No.
Damn. You know, that sucks. That sucks. I mean, stuff is bound to get leaked. I mean, if you do a records request for dash cam video, body, video, whatever, and something like that pops up with like the DoorDash driver, I don't technically see that as a leak though.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that was just, she said she was a witness.
Right. I mean, what are you going to do? It's a good enough records request. You can't say like, hey, we're, contempt of court for getting a records request and putting it on. You know what I mean? Yes, I did hear about the movie deal. I just like to ignore it because it's utterly disgusting and disgraceful. And whoever decided to give said movie deal should be ashamed of themselves.
Well, didn't I hear Turtle Boy's not going to be involved in it?
Yeah. I heard that too. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that like the deal was no talking about him or something like that.
Yeah, which to me is kind of wild because, guys, you do realize like the main reason why she was able to not go to jail was mainly because he contaminated the entire jury pool.
Yeah. Yep.
Like she would have 100% gone to jail if she did not do what they did, which was contaminate the entire jury pool in Canton.
That is going to make me sad. The surviving roommates having to be on that stand giving their account of what happened, because I can only imagine in hindsight how scary that that is like to think about. It's one thing when you don't really know what's going on and you're a little, afraid, which is why they called friends over, but to know what happened in the aftermath, and then to have to get on a stand and know that you're probably on, national TV or even global TV to tell that story is a whole nother thing that I don't think anyone should have to
Mhm.
go through. I know,
So
at least from a point of view of, I have a friend who had to do it, and not something she wanted to do, to have to relive that in front of all of those people. I'll tell you that much.
yeah, I don't think I don't know if the DoorDash driver is lying. Someone else, I think, just asked that. Do you think the
No
Door?
idea. I mean, as far as as far as we know, no, because there's been no reports of her not being truthful of it at all, which means that at least most of medias have uh, debunked her lying about it. So I guess she must have been the actual DoorDash driver. You know, his own deal, yeah, probably from his his little documentary guy that follows him around.
Yeah, I mean, like I personally would not make a documentary with these people, mainly, or like like a movie with these people because I would not want to be sued. I don't, you know what I mean? Like I think,
That's the thing. If you're doing a documentary or movie with Karen Reed or the Turtle, you have to know that they're already going to be dealing with a ton of civil suits for defamation
well, I
and
mean,
libel.
look
I
at
don't know why
baby.
you would want to get involved in
I
that.
mean, what say you point to Higgins or whatever being guilty in your documentary or your movie?
Right.
You will be sued, just like
Yes.
Baby Reindeer,
Yep, you will.
just
Exactly.
like the Murdoch documentary. Remember that the
Yep, I
son
do.
sued. It's
Yep.
like you have to be very careful on who you're pointing to, and I
Making
don't.
a Murderer. They were sued on that.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, unfortunately, that's that's the risk you take, but especially in a case like this when the evidence is so clear, I don't know why anyone would give that a second thought. The 2020, the 48 hours, cool, great, wonderful, it's done, those are over with. Why you would continue on, I don't really understand. I did not see that video of the quote undercover police questioning the frat guys around 11 p.m. That is weird. I don't know why they would be doing that either. Oh wait, the DoorDash lady had her husband was murdered. Oh
Yeah,
man.
yeah. The DoorDash husband was murdered, I think, and the same prosecutor or like our handled it. I think it was like almost what was it, 10 years or 15 years
God, that
ago?
poor woman, dude. Imagine the odds. What are the odds? What are the actual odds?
Yeah. So the DoorDash, like, yeah, her husband was murdered, and it was a
That's
while
so
ago.
awful. That is awful. You know,
So
I mean,
yeah,
I'd probably have a
But-
drug problem too. I've overcome one almost
yeah. I
20
think the
years ago
person
now,
that
but
I
holy
think
shit.
I think the prosecution handled her case, prosecutor or something like that.
That's very sad. You know, that's very,
Yeah,
very sad.
it's pretty bad. I mean, it's the problem is that she's gonna. I don't know how. I mean, looking at how she was acting from the in front of the police officers, I don't think she's gonna be a very good witness. I think she's gonna be torn to pieces on the stand by the defense. That's just
Maybe,
my opinion. I
maybe not.
just don't. Well, I can tell if someone's going to be a good witness, and that person.
I mean, I think what they're going to do is use the poor woman's past against her. That's what they do. And it's sad because it shouldn't have anything to do with anything. If I ever had to get on the stand again, the first thing they would do is say, "Were you ever a drug addict once in your life?" And I would have to answer, "Yes, almost 20 years ago, ma'am, sir." So they try to use that as a way to make you seem not credible, you know. It's unfortunate, but it's what attorneys do. Yeah, that's the thing. I had a fiance that died in a house fire way back, way, way back. and they ruled it accidental. I don't think it was accidental. I will forever have that feeling in my gut that it was not accidental. I don't feel like they looked into it enough as they should have. Um, but it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it other than know deep, deep inside that something ain't right. Some dots were just never connected that should have been, and there is a missing puzzle piece to what the fuck happened. You know, how do you die? How does multiple people die on a first floor house fire? And I just don't buy the whole theory of a couch being carried outside. Something just doesn't. Something stinks to high heaven in that. Who's going to try to carry a couch outside on fire instead of trying to throw water on it? Doesn't make sense. Well, that's another thing. Maybe she's got a digital footprint, Tim. Maybe she has her phone pinging at the same time in the same place, near where Kohberger was. And that would prove that she was there as a witness, the DoorDash lady.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key to this case is basically connecting all the circumstantial evidence together to basically have a timeline of events. I think part of it also might be to point out maybe his motive. I mean, the teacher that he's like kind of infatuated with is the same lady, I believe, who interviewed the BTK killer.
Yeah.
So I think, like, based upon his search history and based upon how he acts, I think he looked up to that individual. I think he wanted to be a BTK, another kind of killer like that, in my opinion. I just think he fucked up the first time.
It's very possible that he thought that he was gonna get away with it. And I think what makes me so sad is reading some of the things that the Goncalves family sent me about Maddie and Kaylee are just some of the things that, like, I think about when I was that age that I cared and liked, and they said that Kaylee and Maddie used to like, late night talks and coffee runs. And I remember going with my best friend being like, all right, bitch, we're going to get coffee. Like, we're going to go listen to music and dance like fools in the car and go get our coffee, and dreaming about their futures. It's sad. Kaylee loved animals and apparently had a radiant smile and was really loyal to her friends. And Maddie was creative, with a love for music and a really infectious laugh, I guess. And Xana, apparently she was a marketing major and used her marketing skills to sort of help at work. And she was a part of a sorority there in the Idaho University. A lot of them were parts of sororities, but she played volleyball, soccer, and track before she graduated and went to college. But this is what really got me about Xana when I hadn't spoken to Xana's family. So all I could find on her were certain things. And I found something very specific that it warmed my heart and in the same way made me sad. And in 2020, when she graduated, you know how people make like those poster boards or like cork boards, and she made a board and it had flowers and butterfly cutouts on it. And it said on the top, it said, "For the lives that I will change." And it's like, that's a whole lifetime that she would have had to change lives. And in a way, I mean, she did get her dream. She is changing lives. She is helping for the better in her case, but it's really sad that it has to be at the expense of her losing her life to do it. It's not something that I feel like, for someone she had that sort of passion that I have, which is like, I'm going to put a mark on this world. I'm going to change something and help people. And at 20 years old, she never got the chance to do that.
Well, unfortunately, yeah, it's a very unfortunate situation. Hopefully, she'll get justice and this guy gets convicted and gets the death sentence. And I believe they have firing squads. I think
Yeah, they do, which is so crazy. I mean, Ethan's siblings, because he's a triplet, so his siblings actually have this really cute motto now after his passing, and it's "Live like Ethan." So that's their motto of how they live life now, is they live like Ethan, live life like Ethan.
Yeah.
And he played basketball. He was apparently very funny, and he had sort of a very funny character, but he also was super loyal to his friends. And what I'm told by the Goncalves family is that these people living together probably had the best of friendship. Like they were the best of friends, and like each had each other's back. And it's just really sad to think about. They're all living in this house. You know, you have 2 surviving roommates. What are those 2 surviving roommates going through? I can only imagine. Not like thinking about, there is this very real thing called survivor's guilt. Believe me, I have it. The what ifs and the what could have happened, and you know, it's a real thing. Survivor's guilt's a real thing. And I can only imagine in their minds, could I have done this, or would it have been me if I did? Those are questions you keep asking yourself, even though you probably are never going to get the answers to them, but you still keep asking yourself them. And I can only imagine what they're having to go through. And then there is a gag order and they are witnesses, so technically they can't speak until the trial. Which is why I do think it's good, though, that the friends that they called over there that morning are going to be able to speak in that Amazon Prime thing they're doing on the 11th of July. And the friends sort of give a little bit of understanding into why they were called there. And it was one of the guys who first realized something really bad had happened. He ushered everybody outside. You know, he gets in the house, and Xana friend, who Bethany, and I can't remember the other roommate's name, but they come right out and go towards the door where the friends are coming in. And the guy sort of goes in, the guy friend sort of goes into the house a little. He must have seen blood or something, because then he calls 911. He tells everybody, you can hear him on the 911 call telling everybody to get the hell out. Get out, get out, get out. You can see that it's a crime scene at that point. And that must have scared the shit out of them. You know, going from like, maybe something sketchy's going on to full-blown crime scene at that point, you know? Night Ash. Well, that's the thing. Their lives will never be the same, but they also have to keep dealing with some of these conspiracy theorists, right? Especially the surviving roommates who have been harassed with conspiracy, nonsensical BS. Why did they wait so long? You know, all the same BS.
Well, that's going to
people.
be have to something that's going to have to be explained to the
And I'm
jury.
sure
'Cause
it will be.
unfortunately, you're dealing with the Martin juror that wants answers for every goddamn thing.
So absurd. You're
You
never
know what
going
I
to
mean?
get every answer for everything, you know? But I was really honored that Kaylee's family shared some of that stuff with me about Kaylee and Maddie, because, you know, I feel their pain. It's indescribable pain that never goes away when you lose someone that you love, and especially in such a horrific way. You know, all of the families have done an amazing job setting up, you know, scholarship funds and things of that nature. And think it's really beautiful that they're all taking out something from this. I know that I think it's Ethan's family is not planning on going to the trial. They're not planning on attending the trial. They think that it's basically energy well spent doing something positive instead of sitting there for that.
I mean, I would say that's going to
Can't
be like
blame
a
them.
circus,
Yeah, can't blame them.
unfortunately, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
very
it's
sad.
pretty tough. I mean, imagine having like the craziness of like sitting through someone talking about the autopsy of your loved one on
Yeah.
like
And who
it's
should want
not.
to sit there and listen to that? You know, Mrs. O'Keefe even left during that, you know? She didn't want to have to think of that, you know?
From says I think these movie things should be prohibited from airing until
I
these trials
definitely
are
agree
over.
that they should be prohibited, you know, from airing until after a trial. But at the same time, if a defendant speaks in something like that, that stuff can be used. And I think that's sort of where it's like, okay, well, if it does air ahead of time, you need to be able to use those statements. And I think that they're going to have to keep those things so that prosecutors can use them. At least in this state, there is no journalistic privilege in the state of Massachusetts. So there is no such thing as having a privilege over any sort of information that someone gives you in this state for journalists, you know, which is sad, but true. So if you say something to a journalist and you are a defendant, they're going to use it, you know? Well, some of them have, but Kaylee's parents are, and I have great respect from them because they are such amazing advocates, not just for Kaylee, but for Maddie and for all of them. And it's like losing two daughters, you know, like Maddie was a staple at their home. They were best friends since sixth grade. Since sixth grade, Maddie and Kaylee. So that's like losing two children, you know? A best friend is like my mom still puts my best friend's prayer card in our Christmas tree every year. It is like losing another child,
Yeah.
you know?
It's yeah.
I could never shut up and wait. There's no chance in hell. To each their own, of course, but I'm one of those people that I need to know. I'm like Steve and Christy, you know, Kaylee's parents. I need to know what the hell happened, and I need to be able to have the answers that I need, and I'm not waiting for the cops to give it to me.
Yeah.
I'm not waiting for them to give it to me. Not waiting for a whole trial, which is, again, it's been years since this happened. Not waiting to get the answers for that long. There's no chance.
Well,
And I think they bumped heads a little in the beginning of the investigation with, you know, families. There aren't victims' rights the way there should be, guys. There just isn't. Unfortunately, it seems that the defendant has more rights than the victims and the victims' families in some aspects. And when you're trying to get answers to how your loved one, how this happened, and the police are sort of stalling you in any way, and they're like, we can't tell you anything. Like, well, what the fuck are you good for then? Well, they're good for building a case. You don't, as a parent, cool, build the case, but I still want to know what the hell happened to my child. You know, and that's the problem, is they won't tell you, because then you'll leak it. If you leak it, tell someone else, and it could mess up the case. But it's a whole thing. And there's got to be some give and take eventually. I think our laws also have not caught up to the age that we're living in. Most certainly hasn't caught up to social media, as we know.
I think it hasn't, unfortunately, and we'll see what happens. It just hasn't. Anyway, I'm going to skedaddle. It was good talking to you.
Tim. Appreciate you, my friend.
No problem. Have a good one. Bye.
You too. I mean, it was brutal. It was brutal. Well, we're working on that right now. We are working on writing a bill right now. And hopefully, I mean, it'll be changed about 1 million times after we write what the main things that we want in it are. But I think it's something that needs to not just happen in this state, but in every state across the nation. These laws have not caught up to the social media and internet age. They just haven't, you know? And when I was doing some research on each one of these beautiful souls, I learned a lot about them. You know, I haven't spoken with Xana's family or Ethan's family, but I did learn a lot about them. You know, Xana, like I said, she was a marketing major at the University of Idaho. She was a member of Pi Beta Phi. She was pretty positive and funny, they say, and that pretty much everybody loved her. You know, like I said, she played soccer and track and dated Ethan. And for her graduation in 2020, like I said, she made that plaque with the butterflies and the flowers, and it said, "For the lives that I will change." And that just kind of sat with me for a minute. You know, she wanted to be someone that could help people, that can change lives. And I do believe in a way she's doing that. But again, it shouldn't be at the expense of her having to lose her life for it, you know? She loved her dog. And like I said, she liked some techno and electronic dance music. She loved family trips with her sister and her dad. And they say that, again, the friends that she lived with were the best friends that anybody could have. These people, you know, living together in this house, that they were all really close together. So when I did the research on Ethan, it was a lot of things that his family had said about him, that he was warm and inclusive and he was a great kid. And in his mom's word, the greatest kid. He was originally from Conway, Washington, and him and Xana were dating, of course, but they were friends before dating, which is what makes the best types of relationships so cute. They say he was funny and he was always laughing and he was very easygoing. And his family did start Ethan's, it's called Smile Foundation. Like I said, it provided $50,000 last year in scholarships to 33 different kids, which is awesome in 2024. His mom, Stacy, wrote a book, The Boy Who Wore Blue. And it was about basically his upbringing and the other triplets. Because again, he's one of 3 triplets. Maisie and Hunter are his siblings, and they live that sort of motto, live life like Ethan. I thought that was really cute and really touching, you know. And his triplet siblings just graduated, so congratulations to them. They graduated, but it's sad enough, of course, they didn't graduate with their brother, and they even did school together. You know, that's the sad part about it. You know, I would have to get answers as a parent. You know, it's there is no right way. You're right. There is no right way on how to deal with grief. Unfortunately, everybody's going to do it in their own way. Maddie has a foundation called Made with Kindness in her honor. She was it's so funny. I was looking in obviously stuff, and it was told to me that but it was known by all of her friends to never let her get hungry because she would be hangry. So don't let her get hungry. don't let her. I thought that was very, very cute. And she was known a lot for her humor and her sense of humor. She was very smart. And of course, they were best friends and sisters, basically. They loved going on their little coffee runs, as Kaylee's family told me, and going and having long talks at night and hanging out together and just being around each other. Oh, I would investigate. That's for sure. I would investigate. It was, I mean, I wish we had known that it was quick because it was 7 weeks before he was arrested, which is, everyone was on edge. Where is this person? But of course, as I said, I talked to the Goncalves family, and I was honored that they shared this information about Kaylee, because she was the defender and protector of others. She's a middle child, defender and protector of others, and she didn't hold back in life. I am told that she loved everything and did it at 110%, whether it was school, work, love, a fight, whatever it was, she gave it everything and then some. And then some. She majored in general studies at and then she was doing College of Letters, Arts, and Social Sciences. She was a member of Alpha Phi, and she had just bought that 2016 Range Rover. She had that trip to Europe planned. She had, the she was moving to Texas. She had the job all lined up. It's just very sad. I feel like as a content creator, I have a responsibility, and it should be every content creator's responsibility to start covering a case, but to not allow these people to get lost in the shuffle in the circus. These are the people who lost their lives. They will never get to hug their animals again, or take that trip to Europe, or have another sleepover, or go on another coffee run, or play basketball again. And they're not just faces. They're not just names. They're people. And I wish more content creators would put a little bit of empathy into the work that they do, and know that when they're covering these cases, that these people have loved ones that are seeing all of it. Please don't with the conspiracy theories. You're hurting people when you do it. Okay? There are so many victims of violent crime. Okay? And then they have to live with dealing with content creators that use it in a way to sensationalize. They don't need to be remembered how they died. They need to be remembered on who they were, what they liked, how they lived, who they were to each other, right? Not the way that they passed on. I will obviously cover this case as it goes to trial, because the families deserve justice, and that means Bryan Kohberger going to prison, right? But there's a lot in this case that we publicly don't know because there's been this gag order. So it's going to be quite interesting watching the trial. But I want everybody to keep in mind that there are 4 families that have to deal with that trial as well. 4 families that are going to have to deal with 3 months or approximately 3 months of a trial in trying to make sure that the person they believe did this goes to prison. And I am praying to God that the content creators that want to make this a conspiracy to make a quick buck start remembering that any one of these 4 people could be someone that you love. And would you want someone you love doing it and talking about them that way, or would you want them to put a human aspect on it and not just cover the case? It's okay to cover the case, but remember the people who lost their lives, because they are the case. Kohberger isn't the focus. He's the big bad wolf. He's the person who hopefully will go to jail for the crime. These people don't ever get to have another wish or another, night out, or another anything, another bad hair day, another favorite snack, another walk with their dog. I ask that even some of the bigger content creators rethink the way that they cover cases. Cover the case. Cool. Great. But let's not let these people get lost. Let's insert, into the case their lives and who they were and what they were like. Because if not, you're just making it one big blur of a circus. One big blur, all about the suspect, not about the people who lost their lives. And, we learned a lot with John O'Keefe's case and how he got lost in that circus. And these people don't need to be lost too. Victims deserve to be remembered by who they were and the impact that they put on this world, not how they died. Kaylee's dad, Steve, yeah, he's a great advocate. They give the parents very little information anyway. I got a new AC the other day. It keeps it nice and cool in here. It was very nice of someone to purchase us the AC and had it delivered. Hi, Amber. I am following the Corey Richards trial, but as far as I know, that one has been basically pushed off until I don't know when at this point. Yeah, it's Kaylee's dad. Oh, Xana's older sister. Yeah, they look a lot alike. A lot alike. It's tough. I'm not gonna lie. It's hard. It's harder for smaller channels, especially me. I'm not a channel of 10,000 subscribers, right? I don't have 10,000 subscribers. I have to keep the channel alive by receiving donations from you guys. I depend on those to keep covering the costs and hopefully maybe something on top of that to make. And because I don't do certain things, it makes it a lot more difficult. But I refuse. I won't do it. I don't care how much dollars and cents and clicks and views it costs me. It's unacceptable behavior. And once you sell your soul to the devil, you can never get it back. I didn't take the last 18 years to be a volunteer advocate to just sell my soul to a YouTube devil. Didn't do it, won't do it, not gonna do it. It's not a thing. A lot of them will be. Some of them have been already in other cases. It's a good question, Liz. It's innocence fraud at its finest, unfortunately. Well, that's the problem. That's what I fear, is we're talking about droves of people who can't think for themselves, who are just basically told what to think, and then they jump on other cases and go, oh, this was an innocent fraud case too, and they get on and say this person's innocent when it's clearly a fraud and they're not. And then they start a conspiracy theory, and then 50 more people come in, and then those 50 people feed it to another 1,000, and so on and so forth. And then you have what we just dealt with in a case like this, which is unnecessary. These people don't deserve to have to suffer more because some conspiracy theorist online wanted to make more money on their YouTube channel. come on. Like, have a little bit of common courtesy. Just a little. Just a smidgen. You know what I mean? Just a smidge. And that's the thing. They don't seem to understand. Some of these crazy followers that they have are willing to do things in real life, like harm people. So they don't even, like, you're inciting people who are not mentally well. That's not a good look. Not a good look at all. I honestly don't know why people do it. I really, really don't understand it. I probably never will, to be honest. Do me a favor, guys. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you have not already subscribed to the channel, I would appreciate that. If you would like to donate to the channel, you can do so one of a bunch of different ways. We have a donation link that's actually pinned in the chat. You can use credit or debit on that. We have Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Revolut. We have all those options. And then we do have super stickers. I can't even talk today. Super stickers and super chats and memberships that do exist under the YouTube umbrella of the channel. So that is definitely the way y'all can help out. If you are on the replay crew, of course, and you donate, we can always read it on the next one. And I always make sure that I read it on the next one if I get it. And all the information for all of that is in the description of the video as well. I don't know. I think it was a hostage statement. I kid you not. I literally think that he was reading a hostage statement. What I think it was about was he knew that that people knew what was going on, and he needed to turn that away. You know, he knew that people knew he was getting pissed off and he was about to lose his ever-loving mind. And if people think that that's what he's going to do and they nail it, it pisses him off enough where he's like, no, that's not it. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. The problem with that is he still won't shut up about it. And he probably never will. Eventually, he will lose his ever-loving mind about it. And it'll just prove that we all saw it coming a mile away anyway. But realistically, what it was people telling him, like, you need to nip this in the butt, dude. Like, that's what you need to do. Well, unfortunately, free speech allows you to lie. Whether you get sued for it or not is another story, you know? But hey, you know, he's just a deplorable human being. He's just a deplorable human being. He's, at this point, what he's now doing is feeding lies. They absolutely were distancing. They absolutely won't answer him. They have written him off. And now he's got to come in and be like, no, just kidding, guys. They do care about me. They like me. They really, really like me. So that people don't think he's a pathetic, sad sap. Problem is he is. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. Now, here's the thing. If you write notes, maybe don't read it like a robot reads it. And if you wrote it, it doesn't need to be written like that. I make notes all the time. And half the time you guys don't even know I'm, scaling my notes. You integrate it into what you're talking about. If it's very obvious that you're reading from a script, what do you need a script for? If you're just clearing up something, you shouldn't need a script. Well, that's the problem. Class actions aren't for something like that. That's a different kind of lawsuit usually. But I get what you mean. A group lawsuit, if you will, which is what class actions usually are, but they're usually used for things like, labor law, or, like Ford made cars that they knew were faulty and you sue the entire company. I mean, I think it's definitely a possibility because a lot of people can't afford to sue. So if it was a group thing, I think, and a lawyer took it under a contingency, I absolutely think that it could happen. Yeah, but he didn't mind getting C's through college. He says that's what he graduated with, just C's, because that's totally fine. We're not dealing with a very, intelligent human being here, guys. Did he go, did you dance if you want to? You can leave your friends behind. Did you do the robot dance too? The hostage robot dance. Should have might as well just tacked it to his face like this and read it like this. I don't have notes, guys. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any notes. Listen, if you're doing good research, you have to have notes. You have to. I have notes. I mean, hello, I just got this notebook, by the way. All right. This was a gift. This was a gift from one of y'all. And it's a new notebook because I filled up my last one. And I started this one for the Idaho case. And I'm already like a quarter of the way into this Ladberry. I take copious amounts of notes. I like to write them down. Mine was gifted, and it was a very nice gift because I would not have been able to buy one outright myself at the moment. And it's cooling down almost the entirety of the rest of the house. It's 8.5, almost 8.5, 8,300 BTUs. So it's cooling down most of the rest of the house, other than the room I am currently in, which I have this huge thing here. This guy. So I'm okay. I have the door open, so it's sending a little bit of cool air in here. I just don't want to try to push it, so that it doesn't cool down everywhere else. Of course, we were buffering. I apologize. I'm just saying, that's what it looked like. It looked like he had, I might as well just stick the notes to your face, dude. I mean, you want to call about a hostage video? That was a hostage video. Funny enough, I was watching TV with my husband, and we saw it pop up on the screen as we were trying to watch. I went back and watched Ghosts of Highway 20 again because it's such a good documentary. Thank you, Oregonian. It's really good. I'm sorry, it is. I went back and watched it again after telling you guys about it. And I was trying to find it, and that popped up, and my husband's like, what is this now? What does he have to say now? And I'm like, I don't know. Who cares? Who gives a shit? Like, who cares? So we just like skipped by it. And then I got a message from a really good friend of mine. And he told me, like, clearly he was watching your show because he just made a video. And I'm like, oh boy, did he now? It's like, oh, he made a hostage video, folks. Well, that's the problem, is he's mad. I heard that his guest was the glarer. What a guest. What a guest, huh? What a guest. What a freaking guest. Yeah, he's been dumped. He was just a useful idiot. It's that simple. You know what I say? He gets exactly what he gave. He created a circus out of John O'Keefe's death. He created a harassment campaign to witnesses, family members, anybody who supported them, including myself, dozens and dozens, hundreds of people's lives. It's called karma, my friend. And I told you, it eventually comes around to everyone. You put bad karma in this universe, and that bad karma is going to come back for you one way or another. It might not be right now. It might be a day, a month, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 20 years. But that bad karma is eventually going to get you. Looks like a little bit of that bad karma is coming for him now. It is what it is. It's his own goddamn fault. Dude has no integrity. He has a chronic case of diabetes. It is what it is. He's not a good person. He needs to probably move on to something else. Maybe go back to Ratchet Madness. I don't know. That's like his thing, right? Go back to Ratchet Madness. He's not a true crime content creator. He knows nothing about the law. He's not a victim advocate. He's never been an advocate a day in his life, nor could he be an advocate of anything other than having diabetes. So, I mean, what's he going to do now? What's he going to do? Keep talking about Karen's case until the cows come home? It's over. It's done. Finito. It's done until civil cases start. So he's going to what? Talk about the things he didn't like? I'll take pathetic for 700, Alex. I mean, what? He did not. He wanted that first interview, and Karen had promised it to him. He absolutely wanted it and did not get it. Like, he wants anyone to believe that he was like, oh, Karen, please go get that. Go get all the monies and all the interviews you can get. Do it. Zero chance that actually happened, by the way. Anybody who even knows him this much knows that was a bold-faced lie. He is the most narcissistic, egomaniac, who only cares about himself. He literally tried to blackmail Karen when she wouldn't save him a seat in court, and when Nick Rocco went on court TV. So anybody who believes that he actually said that is delulu themselves. You know what I'm saying? Speaking of bra straps, dude, this one's really been bothering me. Like, it's uncomfy. I don't know what's going on with it. Oh, he is going to sing like a bird. I'm like a bird. You're not going to be able to fly away, though, unfortunately. Unfortunately for him, he's got, lots and lots of felonies to deal with that he has been indicted on. And that's all of his own doing. He's a perpetual fake victim. He likes to call other people fake victims who are actually real victims of his. He is the perpetual fake victim. It's everyone else but him. Wah, wah, wah. Poor him, poor him. Yeah, I can't wait for justice to rear its ugly head at him. I will have the popcorn ready. Like, so easy. Like, he's a creature of habit, guys. He does the same things over and over and over and over and over. Again, expecting a different result, which is literally the definition of insanity. But hey, it couldn't happen to a better person, Absolutely not. They'll dump him just like a bad habit as well. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. There'll be a couple that will grift off of it and be like, free the sewer turtle. I'm going to make those shirts that say hashtag sewer turtle. Just saying. I did make some merch, guys, for those of you that didn't know. I did. I did the other day make some merch. I know I have to, make more, and I will, I promise. But I haven't had a chance to yet. So maybe before tomorrow morning show, I'll make some more. It takes like 12 hours for it to go live on the website anyway. But I think that there'll be a lot of them that will drop him. Again, some of these people have to move on to other cases. They can't keep screaming free Karen Read while the case is over. They have to find something else. They have to. So what's it going to be? I saw, and I knew a lot of them were going to move on to either Sandra's case or the Idaho case or, whatever they saw the most money in. I see something different. I see suffering people. I see victims. They see a way to make a conspiracy theory work and let all these people feed off said conspiracy theory. I think if that's what you have to do for the clicks, then you're a toxic human being. And I will let karma just do its job. Oh yeah, he does expect that. He expects that you get down to the courthouse and support him if you supported Karen. That's what he absolutely 100% expects that. 100%. Anything less is unacceptable to him. It's sad. It's just really sad because we have real cases. They're raising money for him. They're still raising money for Karen. They're raising money for him. How about raising money for like actual people who need help instead of raising money for a man who created his own legal problems or a woman who already grifted over close to $2 million? Just saying. I mean, hey. Do you know how much money each of them has already made aside from the money that they got off of their viewers for like quote legal fees and stuff? It's crazy. It's delulu. It's insanity. Yeah, they raised yesterday they did. It's like what kind of world do we live in when people are throwing their money at that guy? Make it make any sense. I don't care if it takes the channel in 5 years to get to 50K. I will always stick up for victims. I will always have their backs. And I don't care what case it's in. Nobody deserves to have to go through a shitstorm of people like the sewer turtle creating reasonable doubt in cases or tainting a jury pool to get what he wants. Money and fame. It's insane. It's insane. It makes no sense. That little bit of fame you got, that 5 minutes of fame you got, was it worth all the felonies you got going there, bub? Was it? All the money you made, you're going to have to pay back to victims or you're going to have to spend on attorneys, Oh no, they're raising funds. They had like a party to raise funds for him. Yep. It's nuts. It's gross. Don't even. You don't want to know. You literally don't. You literally don't. Yeah, I'm disgusted. I don't even know why. Why? Anybody that ever has him on regrets it eventually. I guess if you have enough money, it doesn't matter though, right? Yeah, someone told me he had B Tim just said he had him on his channel. You know, it's a sad state of affairs, my friends. It's a sad state of affairs. It really is. I don't know. I feel like we need more content creators that have a little more empathy, a little more common sense, a little more not trying to grift. And yes, every content creator, like I said, should make money. They should make a living. Absolutely. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but when you have to lie to make that living, when you have to push conspiracy theories and taint jury pools to do that, then that's no good. That's where you've overstepped the line at that point. You know? So, fun story. Okay. We are going to do a show tomorrow morning because I did not do one this morning. I had something come up. So I am going to do one tomorrow morning. Oh yeah, he hates that. He hates it. He does not like that. That's why he has people stalk my streams like a weirdo. Like, bro, find something else to do. Find something else to do. So we are going to have a show tomorrow. We're going to have and we have our normal Sunday show. So it'll be 9:30 tomorrow morning and then 11:30 on Sunday. I will put it up probably tonight, probably late night though, for the thumbnail and stuff. So you guys will see it pop up later on tonight, because we didn't have one this morning. So I'm going to replace that one with one in the morning because I don't normally do nights. I usually do days, you know. That's okay. We have people that are in the bushes all the time. We have people that just watch, and then some people will message me and say, hey, I was watching your show, blah, blah, whatever. Some people like to stay in the bushes, and that is totally okay. A-okay with me. So everybody make sure you have your coffee ready in the morning, all right? Because we got quite a few things to go over in the morning, but I want to send, you know, a special thanks out to Kaylee's family, the Goncalves family, because their message to me was really, really sweet and heartfelt. And it took them to sort of remind me that no matter how small, as long as your intent is there, the right intent is there to help people, you can't go wrong. Right. And so it was an honor talking with them, and an honor to get to know who Kaylee and Maddie were, and an honor that I was able to share that with you guys, because these are people whose lives have forever been changed. These 4 young lives have families and loved ones, and they can't be forgotten in the circus of this case. These people have to be at the forefront because that's what we're fighting for them and their families and for justice, you know? Right? I don't get time for that either. I don't get time for the nonsensical crap. I don't have time for it. Next time, just ban them completely outright so they can never comment again. Some people don't seem to understand that once I've blocked or banned them, they can still make comments and they can see them, but nobody else can. I can see that they've tried to make it, but it never gets posted because they've been blocked or banned for being trolls, and I just block or ban them. And so they forever keep writing comments thinking people are going to see them, and they don't. So it's amazing to me. Ooh, that'll be fun. Take pictures. I want to see how that goes. I've never been there. That'll be fun. That will be fun. All right. That sounds really cool. That sounds like so much fun. Take lots of pictures. I want to see what it looks like. Okay. I'm starving. I have not eaten dinner yet. So I am going to go eat dinner. I know it's a short one today, but I had to get one in for you guys. I apologize. It's not longer, but it's almost 9 o'clock, and I still got to do like the bedtime thing with the little, but I will be back at 9:30 tomorrow morning, and we can have our morning, you know, hangout sesh on a Saturday. And then we have our Sunday morning live, which I absolutely love on Sundays. It was Phelps's podcast is excellent on this subject. If you haven't heard it already, you should listen to it. It's really, really good. the level of harassment he's received is probably along the same lines as me, except he, only just started getting it when his podcast came out. I've been dealing with it since 2023. So believe me, if anybody understands what Phelps is going through dealing with these Looney Tunes, it's me. I still, the case is over and they still haven't given up on harassing me. It's insane. Like, get a life, do something, go touch grass, make a pie. I don't know, knit a sweater, watch Matlock, do something. Like, harassing people is weird. You're a grown ass adult. You're mad because I said Karen Reed is guilty. Like, get over yourself. That's weird. All right. I love your stinking faces, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning. And until then, I'll see you later. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I love your faces. Bye, everybody.